Going live, and we're live. So we have Michael and Raphael, and we're talking about the current situation of AsyncVoter. Michael's very new. I've kind of returned from a short hiatus, so I'm a little bit out of the loop. In our recent stand-up, Sam went over a number of the issues, and I'm now trying to find them and can't do. There was a page that Sam had referenced, and now I'm not seeing. Did you manage to get that link, Michael?
Was it the one on GitHub?
I thought it was. Let me just...
/ command, something like that.
Yes. So this is the GitHub repo of the AsyncVoter Slack command, but not the only AsyncVoter Slack command. Where's AsyncVoter Slack bot? Jeez, it's a few of them here. The API, there's a React UI that you might be interested in. So I don't know what that is, because we were wanting to do this, you know, we want a microservice architecture at the start, and we want to do it in Node, and then we can hook our Slack bot up to the architecture and kind of have it very agnostic in terms of implementation, but I think what then transpired was like, well, really, this is for Slack. Let's just push on with Slack, and that's how AsyncVoter Slack bot came about. And kind of things are working that way, and it's probably the most efficient way of doing it. So maybe what needs to happen with the React UI is that we integrate that directly with the Slack command and think about how those two parts communicate with each other.
But where would the UI fit in?
Good question. So I'd need to review the Slack bot. So the React UI. Where do we go? Over here.
Because I assume that this is a system that's going to be integrated into the Slack, the Agile Venture Slack application. Yeah,
although I'm not sure about the React UI. I think maybe it's like you can go to a page where you're not, you know, on the chat, and you can see what the open votes are on the channel that you're interested in, and kind of vote without actually having to connect via Slack. I'm not 100% sure. As I said, Adrian's been doing this, but as we can see, that hasn't had anything for a few months now happen. So we probably need to review that. You're seeing all my window changes. Like if I change between these two, you're seeing that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Just wanted to check. So it's really not clear at the moment what the React UI is doing for me, because I haven't looked at that in months either. So maybe if you fork that and see if you can follow through. Are you familiar with Planning Poker and what the actual project's doing?
No.
Okay, so one agile technique for estimating the time it takes to build a feature is called Planning Poker. So everybody takes a vote and looks at it, and you look at the outliers, and then you question those people who have submitted an outlier and say, hey, you know, Jack, everybody else, most other people have said that they think this is going to take 2 days. You say it's going to take a week. Why do you think that? And then after that discussion, and somebody else might say, no, it's only going to take 1 day. And then you talk about that with them. And then after the discussion, you re-vote, and hopefully you reach a consensus, or the project manager at least can reach a consensus. And it provides an estimate. And it's a very cheap way of providing a reasonably accurate consensus. Otherwise, you know, it's equivalent to actually having people who are trained in estimating and that type of thing. It gives a similar result without that overhead cost.
Yeah, I actually knew that one. I just didn't know the name.
Okay, gotcha.
We used that during the boot camp at Craft Academy. We were dividing features up in how hard we estimate them to be. So one would be fairly quickly, two would be it probably takes a day, and a three would be it takes more than a day.
Exactly. So there's different ways of assigning those metrics, and different teams will have their own different systems of metrics. There's a Wikipedia article on it if you really want to look at that. But yeah, that's exactly right. That's the main gist of it. So you are familiar, I guess, with Agile Ventures. The thing is, we're all distributed teams, so we don't have that luxury of being face-to-face when we have these meetings, and not everybody can make the same meeting at the same time, but we still value everybody's input and on a team, and need to find ways of working together when we're offline or distributed. So hence we have AsyncVoter.
Makes sense.
So it integrates with Slack, which is the main communication method for Agile Ventures. So how that fits in now with React, I can't say, but it's the premier kind of node application that we're using at the moment on Agile Ventures. There's not really that much. Agile Ventures is a very much Ruby loving community, so it's mainly all Ruby on Rails, which is not a bad thing. It's appropriate, but you know, it's Agile Ventures isn't only closed to Ruby, so that this is their kind of their Node.js project that we're working on now. I think Aresh, actually, who recently just left the project, he'd done a lot of work in formulating it into what it is now. I think he kind of just, there was a bit of everybody had their own opinion about what model or which way we should be doing it, and we really should be doing it this way, really should be doing it that way at the start. I think Aresh kind of just got in there and started building, and that's how we've ended up with the Slack bot, just handling most of the processing. It's using Redis which is a key value data store. It's using that as a database rather than Mongo or something else like that, which we initially started on. So that's kind of where we are today. There's a number of different things. Obviously, hosting is a big issue for Sam, because Agile Ventures is a volunteer organization, so not for profit. There is some paid work with it, which is also, you know, he has to make sure that the organization is funding itself. So that's kind of what he's concerned with and what he's gone off to do now. And he's just trying to manage AsyncVoter. He just doesn't have enough time for it. And that's why he's asked me if I'd be interested in doing some project management on it. And of course, now I can't find I might just ask him.
But are you like the last man standing on this project, or?
No, there's people like I don't know if Adrian's still around. There's another Michael. I think it's MTC 2013 is his short username on Slack. There's a number of people involved. It does seem to have the activities kind of seem to drop off a little bit on this project, and it's definitely getting more mature now.
So it's more maintenance right now?
It's still development. It's just obviously we've now got a base product, so these other features that are just improving the way it works. So I think just 1 second. So there's definitely a few other features that need to be going over. Let's take a look at those, which all these windows open. Which one am I using actually?
Kind of weird. I haven't had this kind of interaction with another coder for months on end.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about Agile Ventures. I think it pulls people up, at least on a temporary basis. Is confidence. I think this is the current one. Yeah.
It's the AsyncVoter Slack command.
Yeah, let me just.
I can't find the React UI one on GitHub.
The React UI one, it is there. I'll put the link in the comments.
Yeah, please do, because I can't see it.
Sure. There you go.
Cheers.
So that was, again, that's when we wanted to have a Slack bot that connected to a microservices architecture, and then we had like the React UI connected to the microservices architecture. I think it was a bit, in hindsight, having let's do a microservices architecture straight away was probably a bit just not needed. I think it was adding a layer of complexity at the time that just wasn't really needed. So it's kind of good that we've done what we've done. Now we can reevaluate that decision and maybe go, now that we've got the functionality there again, we can ask if maybe we do need that microservices architecture or not. Do we need a React front end or not? We can ask those questions again.
Yeah, because like I said, I don't see where a front end would actually fit in here, since it's supposed to happen inside of Slack.
Yeah, for the most part. So I guess if you wanted to not have to connect to Slack for some reason,
then what's the point of having
it? What's the point?
Because if you're going to log into a web page to place your vote, why not log into Slack anyway?
Exactly. So take a look at what there may be some good features there. It may be just a good way of also observing. For example, there's multiple channels. It might be a good way of like observing what are all the currently completed votes over the last week over all the channels, for example, to do just getting some statistics or to pull yourself up to speed on the various, across the various projects about what's happening in each of those projects. So maybe.
Maybe. If I look at the code and the source file of the React one, there is a stories.js that I think this UI would be to collect all the stories, so you don't have to wade through all the Slack chats to find the voting. So I think that's the main idea here.
Yeah, so that might be a good point.
Yeah, well, at least what I can tell from the code here.
Yeah, providing some kind of summary.
Yeah.
Like
So
weekly
that's
glance type thing.
yeah. You only get the code. Sorry, you only get the stories and the votes instead of having to wait through all the chat.
Chats and conversations.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, Agile Ventures. Holy crap! The Slack channel is. I had to turn off notifications. My phone was beeping constantly.
Yeah, every 5 minutes you get beep 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 beep.
Oh, 5 minutes. Lucky you.
Well, maybe. Well, I kind of try to remove myself from channels that really don't interest me. So
I think the general and random chat are enough to be constantly bugged.
yeah, that's true. So you can't see this. I'm just taking a look at the link that Sam provided. Let me go back to screen sharing. If I can.
The AsyncVoter Slack command wiki.
Yes. You've got that link already? Should I put it? I'll put it in the chat anyway.
Well, I can see the link that Sam posted to you, so.
Right. Awesome. So it's deployed on a droplet in DigitalOcean. I'm assuming a droplet is some kind of container using Docker containers. There you go, managed by Docker. Docker provides CLI interface, providing users, deploying to production. In the repo, directory, setting up new apps. So there's some work I think that needs to be done here regarding the documentation itself. Yeah, here we go. And you still there?
Yep, listening and reading.
Okay, I think you just muted yourself for a moment, so.
I have to. I have a cold, so I'm constantly coughing.
Gotcha. I just checking that you were muted, not dropped.
Yeah, no, I'm here.
Cool. So, that, I mean, feel free to jump in and kind of drive the conversation. I can switch over to you if you like.
At this point, I'm just trying to understand the project.
Sure. What's you're not working at the moment? You're kind of going for jobs?
Yeah. And I live in the south of Sweden, and Ruby on Rails developers aren't in great demand here.
Right.
So I had to refocus. So the past, well, since September last year, I've been going through interviews as well as basically refocusing myself to JavaScript instead.
Gotcha. Yeah. So there's
nobody wants to. Sorry.
Lots of front end work there, is there?
It's in more demand, but I have a hard time getting my foot in the door because everybody looks at, oh, you only have 12 weeks of schooling. The rest I've done at home.
Gotcha.
And boot camps aren't common in Sweden. We have two. One is Craft Academy. The other one is through a recruitment agency, and they hire their own boot camp graduates.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So nobody expects a 12-week school to lead to anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I'm probably in a similar boat at the moment. I've taken a little bit of a work hiatus recently. My last full-time job was November 2015. I finished. I think technically it was like January last year, but I actually stopped working November the year before, which is rapidly approaching 18 months now, and I need to be able to show something, and I also don't necessarily want to use the same technologies that I was previously using. So I understand what you're saying totally.
Yeah, I got in a situation where it was like basically a reaction to the fact that nobody wanted me as a Rails developer, that I started learning other things because everybody asked me about PHP, so I tried to learn PHP. I learned a little bit of WordPress, a little more JavaScript. So at the end, I was like, jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
So I knew a little bit about this, a little bit about that. I built a couple of PHP projects. I built something in Angular, and then I decided I wanted to go for the full stack JavaScript. So I tried to learn the mean stack, and then all of a sudden, Angular 1 is outdated. You have to learn Angular 2, and that means you have to learn TypeScript. And I would prefer to, rather be better at vanilla JavaScript. So I started learning ES6 to be competitive there.
That's true.
And then, front end, that sounds cool. And I really got hooked on that. And front end, you have to know Grunt or Gulp or Webpack. And I didn't know what that was, so I started to learn that. And through Webpack, I got in contact with React, and I found out React, holy crap, this is fun.
Good.
And everybody's, the job fair I was at today, I mentioned I was a junior web developer. Okay, what do you do? Well, I started out on Ruby on Rails. I refocused on JavaScript. I like front end, and I like React. Oh, React, that's in high demand. Oh, that's good. So what's your schooling? Well, a boot camp. Okay, we'll get back to you.
So you don't have like a university degree or anything like that?
No.
You've kind of changed careers at some point, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I started out as an ambulance, a paramedic.
Right.
And then I switched to, I started nursing school because they switched the criteria for being a paramedic. I had to be a nurse. So I went to nursing school, and I figured out, holy crap, 3 years of this to be a paramedic and hardly make any money, it's not worth it.
Getting your old job back, you have to study a ridiculous amount.
Yeah, so I dropped out and I started working as a security guard.
Right.
So I stuck to that for like almost 10 years, security guard and a bouncer. And then I had to get away from that. It was too much, violence and threats and bad pay and late hours. So I jumped onto being a train driver.
That's from train driver, you went somehow to.
Yeah, it was both the security guard and train driver. It was more out of necessity than what I wanted to do.
Yep.
I always wanted to work with computers, but it always seemed unobtainable.
Yeah.
And then I found a IT security course. It was about a year and a half. So I finally nagged my wife into letting me change careers because it was a major financial setback.
Yeah.
But she saw how much I was suffering as a train driver, so she allowed me to make the change. So during that course, I stumbled into programming, and I was like, oh crap, I found my calling. This is what I want to do. So I've been basically nonstop every day for the past almost year and a half. I've been coding.
Okay. I think that's something really important to mention to people, because the thing, even I avoid front end, and one of the reasons there's a few reasons I avoid front end. But I always find that doing stuff in the back end, you don't have a portfolio to show people. You can tell people what you've done, the types of things you've done, and the education you've had, but people are always going to look at the technology that's in use right now. And as somebody who's been working a long time in one field or various fields, I'm kind of a bit of an IT generalist. At least according to my CV. You still have that same, you're always going to have that same issue of what work have you done, how do you demonstrate it? So you always have to be, I think, a little bit creative, because there's always going to be somebody that's younger and faster, but they're not as experienced. They don't they may not necessarily adapt as well as you do, and you need to find ways of countering that or demonstrating your strengths. So
yeah, I've been trying to do that. I mean, ever since the end of the boot camp.
yeah,
Since I didn't have any experience within the IT industry, I tried to, be upfront about that, as well as saying, well, I have tried other things, and now I know what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. So you are not going to get somebody who leaves after 2 years to look for, greener pastures.
I wouldn't actually be worried about that, because leaving after 2 years is really commonplace within IT. So if you worry about it, they're going to worry about it. But I wouldn't. If I was you, I would not worry about it. If they're a good place to work and you're a good fit, then you're going to stay there for as long as possible anyway. And it still happens that people don't just change jobs for better money. There's other factors there, like a poor relationship with your manager, where you and your manager aren't communicating well. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why people move.
Yeah, probably that, and or a toxic environment.
Yeah, well, I mean, toxic environment, I think a key hallmarker is poor communication with team members.
Yeah.
Especially, manager to worker relationship is super important.
Yeah. I mean, I switched over to more, tried to market my general skills, and then try to market specifically. So I've been, changing the way I apply for jobs and the way I market myself over the past 6 months.
Right.
But it's still, Sweden is a very, how should I put it? Everybody in Sweden wants security. And the best security when you hire somebody is a piece of paper that's saying, well, at least they graduated with a master's or with a bachelor's degree in computer science, because then we know that they at least have some schooling.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they don't. Well, it's not almost. They didn't even care to look at my projects, what I have accomplished, or test my skills, because they said, 12 weeks, that's nothing. A boot camp, well, you couldn't learn that much in 12 weeks.
Gotcha. Why don't we return to this in a few moments, because we're still live on Google. So we can kind of start. Let's talk about what to do next, and we can then pause that and return to more personal conversation after. Just try to stay focused. So I think what we need to do at the moment is just, you need to probably take a look at what's going on with React and see what opportunities there are for you with a front end. I think we've kind of covered off on that. I think I need to review this wiki entry that Sam sent and see if I can do it and see where I get stuck. Go through that. You're welcome to go through that with me maybe tomorrow. Why don't we meet again tomorrow? Either way, let's meet again tomorrow once we've both brought ourselves up to speed. I
think that would be a good idea, and I would really, really like to at least observe the process that Sam talked about with you, because I have no idea how to deploy stuff on DigitalOcean or how to use Docker.
Got you. Docker is you've used Heroku, right?
Yeah, during the boot camp.
Got you. So Docker is kind of it's a container management system, and Heroku basically uses, I think, basically uses a form of that. So when you do a Heroku push, it kind of, it sends up the changes and it makes sure all of the dependencies are there. It's kind of like a small virtual machine environment, but with shared resources rather than exclusive resources.
Yeah, and Docker does the same thing.
Yeah, that's I was talking about Docker.
Oh, okay.
So, but
you
yeah.
said Heroku, so
Sorry, Heroku and Docker. Heroku uses a similar system to what Docker uses, and Docker is basically they call it a container. It's kind of like a lightweight virtual machine. So it's like a virtual machine with shared resources rather than exclusive resources.
all right.
So, anybody watching this probably might jump on and argue with me about what I've got wrong, but that's kind of the way I think about it. Yeah, it's just good because it packages everything up for you in one, and it just makes sure your environment's consistent across implementations.
Sure.
That's, at least from my development perspective. There's other technical wizardry going on that's also very important that I'm not covering on. All right, so let's do that. Let's make a time to meet. I'm going to stop the meeting now, and let's stop the broadcast now. So thanks everybody for watching and listening to us ramble. We're gonna take some time.
And don't judge on the personal stuff.
Exactly. So we'll speak to everybody else later, and we'll continue our chat now.